Hello everyone, and welcome to another read-along. This is your friendly heads-up warning that we are going to be going into a critical reading of Zenith. That means it will not only contain every single spoiler, but if Zenith is one of your favorite books and you cannot stand to see it ripped apart into little tiny pieces, then this isn't the review for you. See you next time. Thanks for playing. Before we get started, as I'm editing this, I realize that this next section is just really confusing if you don't remember what was going on with Claren the last time we saw her, which I'm guessing that most people don't, because it's been a minute. So, we are going to be back with Claren in this chapter, and when we last saw her, she was leaving with the General Cortas, or Court-ass, as we affectionately call him. And if you recall, Claren is Nora's mother. So that was where we last saw her, is the General showing up, and I believe she was leaving with him. Hopefully that makes things a little bit easier to understand. Probably not, though. Probably at least two, because they're like 2 pages long each, so... Chapter 37, Claren.
Honestly, the real reason it's taking you so long is like if you're doing a different read-along, you'd like 2 chapters. I bet you'd be 20, 30 pages.
Reasonable, but no, these chapters are so short. Year 25, whatever the fuck that means. Yep, somebody's gonna get killed or raped, unsure which. The General has got the Queen pressed up against the wall, and he's very angry. But I don't know if it's a kill in anger or a rape in anger. I guess we'll find out. I'm confused. So the General is like pressing up against the wall, and probably it's a kill in anger because he like starts to strangle her. He might just be into autoerotic asphyxiation, but to get him to let go, I've read this sentence like 3 times and it just confuses me. She ran her fingers up and down his back. That's it. And he like freaked out and let go. So like, does he have like a mechanical spine that she was like messing with? Or is he just really not into touching? What?
They're ticklish, dear.
He's very ticklish. Okay, so it is a little bit sexy because he's like yelling at her and saying and being like, "You plague my dreams, you come to me in visions. When I'm with my wife, I think of you." So it is a little bit sexy. Okay, and it's been 2 years since she was stolen away from her planet. So I don't keep track. You can say year 25, but I am not going to go back, find the last chapter that she was in, and try to figure out how long it's been. Okay, I think I heard about this. Like, I don't know many spoilers about this book, but, like, just through the grapevine, I heard about this, that the Evil Queen has, like, some psychic powers, and I thought that was Nora, but maybe Nora has them as well.
Also, I can kill you with my brain.
This queen has psychic powers, and she's making General Cortez fall in love with her, and so she's just, like, right now she's just, like, forcing him to be like, I will, like, leave my wife for you, and I love you, and blah, blah, blah. Alright, we're on to chapter 38 after that scene. So not only did the Queen use her powers to make the General love her for reasons unknown, but she also felt the need to have sex with him for that. So, we're back with Androma. I'm sorry, but I am still angry. They're talking about Soina, and they call her the revivalist, and I am still upset that after all that, they just got stunned and put in the barge of the dead while stunned. Like, couldn't a prisoner just be unconscious and escape that way? Like, I do not understand. That was, like, the most poorly managed plot point I've seen in a very long time. Poor, fucking Breck, the big muscly one, totally gets the short end of the stick. She barely is a character. Like, she doesn't get anything. Gilly is at least a little kid, so she's got the little kid plus likes to shoot things thing. We get Lyra's point of view sometimes, so we've got all of her angst. But poor Breck is just like the big one. This med bay is not very sanitary. They cleaned up Valen, and they just put the bloody rags in the corner. Wouldn't you incinerate them? And then we have a whole page of Andi sitting next to unconscious Valen, just having angst about the thing with Kaylee again. We know that she's very upset about it. We don't need a whole page. Ooh, I think something's going on. I think we called it. they have several tests like going on his blood to make sure he hasn't picked up any horrible diseases from being in the prison, and they just got back abnormal readings. Seek further tests. So I think he's been sabotaged, if you will.
There's a venereal disease now and can't fornicate with a girl. It's gonna be end
Well,
of the
like
world.
he's probably got an evil venereal disease.
I'm sick of being the guy who eats insects and gets the funny syphilis.
Like when he was like, "Stop beating me," and they just did. Like she came in, and she probably used her psychic powers in some way to like change him. And like, did she have sex with him? Did she force him to have sex with her using those powers? Did she give him some sort of evil venereal disease that is now going to spread? Did she use? Okay, we know she's making a bioweapon. Did she give him a sexually transmitted bioweapon? We have to make our own fun reading this book. Oh, and he just woke up enough to tell Andi, "Kill me." So he knows he's a sexually transmitted bioweapon waiting to happen as well. Yeah, that or he's gonna just explode or something, like when he gets back.
Explosion.
He's gonna explode. I'm gonna read one more chapter. It's like 4 pages long. We're still with Androma. So Gilly is painting Dex's nails, and like Andi is like, "Oh, I guess my crew has like gotten used to him and they're really chill with him now." But why? When did that happen? Like, is it because he let them beat him up in the bar? Because he just made their captain cry the night before. So you wouldn't think they'd be so suddenly just like, "Nope, this is very chill." We've established at several points that Andi likes classical music. But she's talking about her ship, or she's thinking about it. They don't talk, they think. All these characters do is think. Thinking about her ship again, and how when Dex was there, it used to be a mess, but now it's all nice and classy, and classical music is always playing. And then it says, it was Andi's favorite music. We know. Please don't tell your reader over and over again things that they already know. Please don't do that. They're all trying to decide whether they want to call Valen the mutant, but like, don't they have a mutant on board? Like, isn't Lyra technically a mutant because her people were mutated by whatever, the nuke that was dropped on them or whatever, and now they all have different superpowers? So, like, wouldn't she be a little insulted by them being like, "Oh yeah, we're going to call him a mutant because his blood is weird"? Here again is one of those little things. Andi nodded her head. You don't need her head. You don't generally nod with any other part of your body, so you can just say, "Andi nodded." Alright, and we end up a rather boring chapter of people just sitting around, hanging out. The robot is going through the kitchen and found some old meat. This is like nothing. But the chapter does end with like alarms going off and the ship rumbling and, "Oh, danger, danger, Will Robinson." So perhaps soon we will have something exciting, but not in the next chapter because we're going back to Nora's point of view. So we'll see. Probably like 3 pages long. Let me see here. I'm not going to read it. I just want to know. Yep, it's about 3 pages long. So it'll be a very short time before we get back with Andi and her crew. But for now, I'm going to leave you. Alright, everyone. We are back with chapter 40. I got home from work, rode my horse, took a shower. Adam made me some lovely dinner, and now
It was lovely.
it was lovely. And now I'm dressed in my penguin robe for maximum coziness, and I'm gonna lull myself to sleep with this book. We're back.
Sure, it's not gonna torch you into perpetual wakefulness.
I don't know, man. I think this will put me to sleep. We're back with Nora, Queen Nora. See what sort of evil she's up to. As you recall, when Abby was playing with her favorite thing. So Nora's mother was taken or surrendered herself to the general when Nora was young, and it doesn't seem to have done anything. That's kind of what confuses me a little bit, because like, wouldn't the mother giving herself up to the general make him like stop bombarding their planet? But it seemed like he did not. So her mother's sacrifice, question mark, does not seem to have worked. In this chapter, briefly we got a little bit about Nora being disappointed that Vengeance Will Be Mine Valen escaped, which goes against my theory that he's actually going to be like a sleeper agent for her, but maybe the authors are just trying to pull a fast one and be like, yeah, she's disappointed. We also find out about her super weapon, which, best I can tell, forces people to be compliant to her, it's really confusing because sometimes it just kills them. And there's one prisoner who she doesn't like, who she just has it like dripped into his eyes, and then he like screams and goes silent, which they don't tell me what else he's doing. He just goes silent, which I took to mean that he was dead, but maybe it doesn't. These authors have so many words and describe everything, and then this they decided to be unclear about. I'm not sure exactly what is going on here and why, like, sometimes they die of it. But it seems that the other prisoners that she dripped this, like, silver stuff on are now compliant with her, and she's going to use them to make her army and darken the stars, she says. So that's her plan, apparently. Probably just going to crop dust all of the planets with this silver stuff, and everyone will obey her.
So, two things. One, who in the main cast of main characters has had the gray stuff drizzled in their eyes already?
Exactly. Like, probably vengeance will be mine, Valen.
And then two, the whole darken the stars thing sounds like an evil, horrible thing to do, but in reality, for any, like, Type 3 civilization, yeah, there we go. Any Type 3 civilization, black holes will provide energy much more efficiently and for a longer time for to support a civilization than suns will. Suns and stars will just burn out and waste all the energy inefficiently, and we'll all die off as a species so much sooner. So really, darkening the stars and turning them to black holes is for the betterment of society.
See, that was very sciencey, but I think what she was going for, I think she was being metaphorical. I think she was saying that she's going to create so many soldiers that they will, like, blot out the stars with their, like, millions of ships.
Well, that's just inefficient. You're going to burn through the resources.
I know, but I don't think the authors of this book really think about things like resources. Chapter 41, we're back with Androma, which I forgot that there was an alarm happening, but we were in danger times here aboard the glass ship. So the disaster is that their ship's warp core, essentially, is having a meltdown. And they need to either figure out how to fix that shit or evacuate the ship before it explodes. As yet, we don't know why it's having a meltdown, but I'm sure we're going to figure that out eventually. But they have to deal with the very urgent ship about to explode issue they're having. Imagine the glass ship exploding. Shards of glass shrapnel lancing through space for eternity until they stab into something.
Yeah, at a high velocity.
Yeah.
Shredding your ship. And
Yeah,
like,
you're just floating along in your ship, like you're doing your thing, everything's fine, and all of a sudden this giant shard of glass, like, just lodges itself somewhere in your ship's vital bits, and you're like, what the fuck? And then they're like, haha, it was the Bloody Baroness. She'll feel bad about it later if she's not dead.
So it'd be really cool is if it's like a giant shardy sword-like shard, and like stabs through a hull, but it seals itself because it's so sharp, but it punctures through. But like some hapless person was walking along, just like gets their head stabbed off.
All right, we're gonna have to make an emergency landing to try to repair this. I wondered how they were gonna have so much book left, because like everybody seemed to be coming together in a fairly efficient manner. But I guess we gotta put Andi and her crew off track somehow. So emergency landing is required. I'm curious if there was sabotage involved on the general's part, and if so, why? Oh, conveniently, they have to land on Lyra's homeworld. So, yay, I guess. I don't really like Lyra either, so I'm not excited about that. Thought to herself, there's another one to watch out for in your writing. It's redundant, because you don't usually think to anyone else, unless you're psychic, which Andi is not. So, Andi thought. Will do. And we're on to chapter 42, which is Andi again, thank goodness. Because I didn't really want to go get anyone else's point of view, even though I don't really want Andi's either. Dex's is the only one I can tolerate, and that's because he's kind of an idiot, and I enjoy that about him. But, like, everyone else is just an asshole, and I hate them. They're going to land on Lyra's homeworld, and she doesn't want to because she's, like, I don't know if she's exiled or she just really hates those people. There we go, a little bit more light so I can read. We'll see, like, I think, if I remember correctly, her people were all, like, mutated in different ways by some radiation. So we'll see if we get some real interesting powers going on here.
Tentacles.
They had a cute joke, well, I would call it slightly amusing, and then they ruined it. Because they're trying to land their ship, and of course it's like freaking the fuck out because its engine is overheating. And Andi says, "Come on, baby," and then over the comm she hears Dex say, "Coming." But then they ruin it by like her yelling at him and him being like, "I'm just trying to lighten the mood, Androma. I know Lyra is capable of handling the situation." Like, don't add any of that. Just let that little moment just stand on its own. Let us be like, fucking Dex. Just in general, these authors need to watch out for filtering, which is not letting us see through the character's eyes, but constantly reminding us that we're supposed to be. Like this, everybody's on the bridge, they're all strapped in, the ship's going down, they're all clearly paying attention to this moment. But they have Andi watched as her pilot maneuvered around the massive trees that dotted Adhira's landscape. You could just say, the pilot maneuvered around the massive trees that dotted Adhira's landscape. It takes us away from the moment if you are telling us that Andi is watching it. Of course she's watching it. Everyone's watching it. And since we're in Andi's point of view, you don't need to tell us that she's watching it. So watch out for that kind of filtering. It's something that these authors definitely could have been more diligent about getting rid of, and it's something that we all can, including me, all look out for in our writing. Andi's like, "You better not scratch my ship. It's made of fucking glass." Crash lands and just like shatters.
They technically survived the landing, but then like the ship explodes, glass shrapnel,
Like
shredding them all to death.
I want them to like grind to a stop, and then there's a moment's pause, and then the whole thing just goes shing, like it's an anime, you know, and the glass shards fall, shining down upon the characters. Oh, good, Andi should like this. They're calculating their trajectory, and it looks like they're going to smack right into a village. So that should make Andi happy, because she likes to kill a lot of people. And then she'll feel bad about it later, but like, this should be good news. Tell me if this is accurate. They're trying to stop, they're crashing, they're going to hit a village. Andi asks if they lighten the ship, if that will allow them to land faster, better, slow down faster. Is that a thing?
So what did they say?
Even with the tree slowing us down, getting too much velocity, we'll plow into the village. If the ship was lighter, would we be able to stop in time?
I don't know the full scenario. If they are applying reverse thrust, less mass on the ship would mean the reverse thrust would be more effective, slowing them down quicker.
We would only be able to assume they're doing that because they have not told us that anywhere in these pages. But if we do assume by ourselves, as sci-fi readers who know how ships might work, that they're applying reverse thrust, then that would work.
Yes, if they could reduce the mass of the ship.
So Dex just hit a single button that released all of their escape pods, which apparently lightened them significantly. I don't know how many escape pods there are on this glass ship with 4 people, but I guess it was enough. I'm amused that there's a single big red button on the bridge that releases all the escape pods. That's fun. Alright, we have finished. And hey, we get Dex in the next chapter, so that's exciting. Something to look forward to. They're crashing, and they're still crashing. This entire chapter was just crashing. And Lyra has passed out from, like, igniting herself because she's so stressed out. She just, like, her scales got super, super hot. I don't know how she's not, like, melting the controls. But, you know, maybe she's not that hot. But either way, she got too stressed out, and then she passed out. And so they're crashing, and their pilot is unconscious. And it seems like it would be a bad idea to have a pilot who, in high-stress situations, turns into fire and passes out. But that's not my ship. I'm sleepy now. I'm ready for bed. How about you? We're old and we both have boring day jobs we need to get to in the morning, so we go to bed at a reasonable time. Sucks. Hey everyone, it's late at night and all the animals are either put away or eating their dinners, but we are here to read some more Zenith, chapter 43, which is from Dex's point of view, which as you recall I was excited about because he's the only character I like. That's because he's kind of an adorable idiot. and I appreciate that. So as you recall, they're crashing, and the first sentence is basically that Dex doesn't like crashing. Cool, good.
Lots of experience with it. Has discovered it does not like it.
Does not like crashing. Are there many people who do like crashing, though? That's my real question.
Yeah.
This landing is gonna get pretty interesting.
Define interesting.
Oh god, we're all gonna die?
I don't know. All the characters in this book are crazy. Dex is probably the only one that does not like crashing.
That's true. Everybody else on this ship is probably like, whee! Well, except for Lyra, because she's unconscious. By the way, I have tea in my Sherlock mug. Which says on the other side, I'm not a psychopath, I'm a high-functioning sociopath. Do your research. If you want to see my full and extensive mug collection, there's a Patreon video for that.
Mine just says hot tea.
So apparently, at some point during the crash, which makes sense, they put their metal, like, plating up. Sorry, the siding. I don't remember it being said at any point during the crash, but I guess I will give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe I missed it. And of course, they stopped, like, right near the village, like a stone's throw from the village, because that's more dramatic that way. And there are villagers, and they're pissed.
I mean, would you not write it dramatic yourself if you were doing a crash?
I mean, I guess. I would be tempted to, like, put them close to the village. But
your
maybe
last starship landing that I remember you wrote was pretty close to the village.
Yeah, that was intentional, though. They were landing near a village on purpose.
Weren't they trying to get to this village?
No,
No?
they were not.
No.
They were trying not to hit this village. They were like, we're going to crash in this village. That's why they ejected all their escape pods.
I mean, yeah, but if they had not been crashing, would they not have wanted to land here anymore?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
They weren't even going to this planet originally. They just started having like a complete core meltdown, and then they like went here because it's the closest place
because
to
their
crash.
crew member is such a hottie.
Yeah. Fortunately, or unfortunately for our characters, because they're not happy about it, the queen of this planet just happens to have, like, some of her guards, and not just any of her guards, like, her personal royal guards are in this village for reasons unclear. And they're riding around on these giant, like, Oliphant things, like out of Lord of the Rings. By the way, we're on to chapter 44, now we're in Androma's point of view, and I'm very disappointed by that previous chapter, because it was very short. And all we really learned from Dex is that he doesn't like crashing. We begin this chapter again with Andi remembering her homeworld and how the last time she was there was when Kaylee died. And it's just like, we know. We know, and then there's a little bit about how she found Dex and then how she, like, left Dex. And just in return, she'd stolen his ship, filled it with the fiercest females in the galaxy, and together the girls had made it their own. We know! Why are you telling us these things over and over again? This book could be so much shorter if they cut out all of the repetition. Okay, there's the Dex we know and love, the happy idiot. They're all in the wagon with the queen's, like, personal guard, and they're all miserable because their ship's being dragged behind the Oliphants, and it looks like shit, and everyone's all sad. But Dex blessedly was up front, chatting happily with the Sentinels as if he hadn't a care in the world. Bless his idiotic heart, I love him. Oh, well, that's alright. Apparently Lyra thinks that the repairs on their ship after crashing into the planet will only take a few days, so that's good.
It's only a planet here.
It's only a planet. They only lost a little bit of their siding, it's fine. Andi's like, General Cortez should fix our ship, and I'm like, you were pretty sure that he sabotaged your ship. Like, they think that's why the engine started to overheat, is because he did something to it, or his mechanics did something to it. I don't know why he would have sabotaged it, unless he secretly does not want his son back. But, like, if you suspect that the general sabotaged your ship so it would explode, why would you then be like, I'm gonna let him fix it again? Apparently, Lyra has some colloquial sayings from her home world. A calm mind is a decent one. Decent. It's decent.
It's alright.
It's alright. Andi has just had to be reminded that other people have feelings. Lyra reminded her that, like, not only is their ship crashed, but Lyra also has to face a bunch of people that she doesn't know and like. And she's like, yeah, reminding Andi that, like, other people are miserable today. She reminds me of Summer from The Cellar that way. Dear Summer had to be constantly reminded that other people had thoughts and feelings besides her. Then we're on to chapter 45, which is Nora's point of view. All that happened, like literally the only movement we had in the last chapter, was that we were in a cart being pulled by those Oliphant things. Like, the rest of it was all just Andi feeling sorry for herself and remembering her past again. Pointless ass chapter. Although we did get the little tidbit about Dex, like, up being friendly with the people whose village they almost crashed into, so at least there was that. But that was like one sentence. I don't know if it was worth it. Here's a good example of a time when you should show instead of tell. Nora's leaving her tower and going into the city. It was like entering a completely different world. The one she came from was that of privilege and wealth, while the one she walked into was born of death and chaos, left to rot under a clouded sun. We already know that she comes from wealth, so you don't really need to explain that, although you could remind us that she's wearing lavish clothes, which they do a little bit later. But, like, this scene just tells us what the dynamic is, when you could describe the situation she's going into and let us see what the dynamic is. Let us gather it ourselves.
You ain't smart enough to figure it out.
Oh, I'm not? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's my bad. Okay, this is also annoying. The palace ruins, Nora said with a casual wave of her prosthetic hand. Her scars ache today, as they did every day. If they hurt every day, you don't need to point out that they ached today. What? Something that is interesting, and I guess it's probably a good thing, is that many of the characters, because they're so war-torn, have scars, missing limbs, their flesh is literally being held together by synthetics. I guess that's a good thing, that there's that representation there. Something. Okay, so I finished this chapter, and it didn't quite go where I suspected it was going to go, and I'm, as usual, a little disappointed that it didn't. So Nora was going out into the village or whatever, where all of the poor people were, and she was going to gather them in one place, and give them some food, and, like, give them a pep talk. But at least that's what she told her uncle she was going to do. But what I thought she was going to do was, like, spray them all with this new compound that would make them her willing soldiers. Because that's what it's for, right? And I was like, oh, she's about to be real evil, and I'm kind of here for it. And then she just went out there, she gave them a speech, she didn't even fucking feed them, she just gave them a speech about how, like, the unified systems did this to them, and they had to fight back now, and then she showed them the, like, Zenith drug that she has. And then she's like, this is how we're gonna do it, okay, bye, and then she left. And I really, like, why? She said that these villagers are like her soldiers, so that made me really suspicious that she was just going to use this drug on them. Like, was she going to gather them all in one place and then turn on a sprinkler system that's like full of this Zenith drug, and all of a sudden she's got like this whole group of willing villager soldier cannon fodder? But no, she just went out there and told them about it, and then went away and asked her uncle to make her a crown. Okay. I think I'm going to stop here. In our next chapter, we're with Lyra, which I'm not really looking forward to because I find Lyra kind of insufferable to follow. Fortunately, she doesn't have too many chapters. That's what's going on. It was a pretty engaging chapter when I thought it was going to go somewhere, but then it didn't really go anywhere, which is, I think, what most of these chapters are. It's the book that seems like it's going to do something, and then does not. Alright, we're back with chapter 46. Probably just going to read a couple chapters tonight because it's kind of late. So the first, like, 2 pages are just Lyra going to a temple on the top of a mountain so that the authors can tell you how much she loves being in the sky. And so she can look over the planet and be like, yeah, there's where my people who are, like, good, they're immune to fire, like, live in the lava, and there's where my people who have gills and stuff live in the sea, and, like, it's not making her world seem very cool. Also, she loves the sky. Did we mention that? Because the book mentioned it twice. So Lyra's brother has come to talk to her, and he's mad that he hasn't heard from her in a while, even though he knows, like, because he's like a sentinel, so he's like one of the palace guards or whatever. He knows that she is like a wanted criminal and her people are pirates or whatever, and he's like, there have been deaths. And I'm like, well, there have been a lot of deaths. She's running with this bloody baroness who just, like, kills so many people. Lyra tells her brother all about the adventures they've been on, and we get, like, lists of things, and, like, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't need to be here. We could just say that she told him, and he, like, listened appreciatively, but, like, He smiled when she spoke of Andi's dancing and her red-polished nails and the way her music spilled through the halls of the ship. He grumbled something about cocky guardians when Lyra talked about Dex and hummed in appreciation. I feel like we need a comma there. When she described Breck's exquisitely cooked meals, he laughed when Lyra told him about the new Vaden's jokes and the banter Breck shared with Gilly, and it goes on like that. Like, there's more and more, and I think it's not very engaging to read. It's a synopsis of a conversation that could have been synopsisized. Like, I don't need this whole conversation of everything that happened. I don't need a recap. They could have just said, she told her brother, or, something better than this, but she told her brother about it, he listened appreciatively, he asked for a few questions, or something like that, Like, you don't need all these little details that we're not learning anything new about anybody. Like, this sentence right here works just fine. All along he listened, occasionally biting his lower lip in thought. That works fine. We don't need all those lists. Alright, and then the chapter ends with Lyra's brother saying that she has to go, the queen wants to talk to her, and then she's like, race me, and they race off to talk to the queen. So, yes, that was a lot of chapter for not a lot of anything, except for we meet her brother in probably the most boring way possible. I don't know. And she really likes to fly. Did we mention that, you guys? She likes flying.
She likes the sky, dear, not flying.
Oh, she likes the sky. She likes the sky and the flying in the sky.
Yeah.
It's just, it all goes together. And then we're going to read chapter 47, which is back with Vengeance Will Be Mine Valen at last. He's finally probably conscious. And then we're going to stop. I'm starting to flinch every time I see the words, it reminded him, or it reminded her. Because these characters do nothing but remember things. This book would be so short if we only focused on the things that are happening to the characters right now, instead of just memory after past after over and over again. These authors, it's like they didn't come up with enough story for this book, but they were really into their characters' backstories. Like, I bet they had these extensive backstory things all written out, and they're like, oh, people are going to want to know all of this stuff. But, like, in reality, we want to know what's happening with this story that we are reading right now. We've got the word plush used twice in 2 paragraphs. Valen is waking up to a plush pillow, and also he's covered in plush green blankets. Remember to vary your descriptors. Okay, there's an animal curled up at the edge of his bed, because this place, like, Lyra's homeworld is very jungly and wild and all that stuff. And there's an animal at the end of his bed, and it's described as round and orange. And it's because it's curled up into a ball, but, like, I choose to believe that it's Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal. You know what I could stand? I could stand another description of what Lyra's people look like. I think we got one at the very beginning, and we know she has scales. But, like, what do their faces look like? Do they have reptilian noses, like Voldemort going on? Or, like, do they have ears, external ears? Do they have hair? I don't remember most of it, and it's a good idea with aliens, because I'm writing my own alien book, and I had my betas kind of tell me anytime that I needed to re-describe an alien that we were dealing with, but it's a good idea to keep, this is the one thing they're not keeping reminding us of for some reason. Valen is meeting the queen, and we find out that her skin is really bright and colorful, but I still don't remember, do they have tails? I don't think they do. Do they have legs that are like lizardish legs, I guess you could say, claws? Like, I don't know what I'm looking at. It's really hard for me to imagine, so I'm kind of imagining just a lizard-like person. And that's the end of that chapter. Valen has a bit of a freak out because he starts to have like a PTSD flashback to whatever Nora did to him, which we can all be pretty sure had something to do with her new, like, brainwashing drug. But we don't know what it is yet, because he was just freaking the fuck out. And then he gets sedated again, and that's the end of that chapter. So, next we're back with Lyra. I mean, I know it's her homeworld, but I find her so insufferably boring. So, once again, Adam's going to be gone over the week. And maybe I'll get some done this time while he's gone, instead of like last time where I didn't read it at all. Because, I don't know, I'm a failure.
Mayhap, we can hope.
So Adam doesn't have to sit here and just listen to me bitch about the same things over and over again. I apologize if I keep harping on the same things. But this book refuses to do anything. This is the most walking in place book I have read in a long time. But anyway, I'll see you guys later.
No, Fizzcake. You stay here. Dole.
It's that time again. It's time to shout out this month's lovely patrons: Lennox, Amanda, Thelia, Jenny, Joseph, Kim, Lisa, Sabby Panda, Sam, Sarah, Savvy, and Scribbling Cat. I'm still so astounded and honored that I have so many awesome patrons helping me out. You guys rock.